Hey, welcome to Facebook Live. We are here in Washington, D.C. I've got my friend Supervisor Vito Chiesa here. Stanislaus County of Governments is here this week talking about all of the different issues that are important to the Central Valley, and we want to just go over a few of those. Yeah. Vito, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you again. I want you to know, first of all, that I'm missing a board meeting back home that's going on live right now, so it's kind of ironic that I'm on Facebook Live. But yeah, we're here talking about a few issues. We're talking about some efficiencies, bridges, roads, and a little bit on rail. I know you've been very helpful. First of all, I want to thank you. There's the MPO rule, where Secretary Fox had tried to merge Merced County and Stanislaus County together. I know you carried legislation to overturn that. I'm very appreciative of that. I know the president had signed that into law. We thought that that was redundant and cost us a lot of money on something that we're already doing, trying to force us together. So I appreciate that help.
You got it. You got it. We got to work together to make sure that not only are we delivering these projects early or on time, but that we're actually expediting them and creating a greater efficiency to lower the cost. So yeah, that's exactly what we're working hand in hand on.
So that's a big part of our trip today on the efficiencies of government. We have in the last authorization, they had a pilot program that they were working on for NEPA, CEQA, reciprocity, and CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act. NEPA is the same thing for the national level. So we've ran into projects. We have to run two parallel, essentially similar. And so again, I will say that you use the word redundant. We have to do these two redundant environmental looks at a project. And the pilot project was supposed to look at how we could just do one of them and take the most stringent of the two and then make that document the only document. And so far hasn't gotten off the ground. We're still looking for some relief on that. So,
yeah, it was an important issue that I pushed forward 2 years ago, but unfortunately we're still waiting for a administrative rule to come out through the Trump administration. We had hoped to get that done in the final days of the Obama administration, but the duplication between these two not only drives up the cost, but really shuts down a lot of our projects. A lot of projects that we have to schedule, when you can get employees there, when you can get the different construction materials there. So right now it is prime building season. We need to get this rule done now. We're saying we're going to go with the highest environmental regulation.
That's right.
Just don't do it twice. Don't create a much longer process where you go through CEQA and then you wait for several months and you get lawsuits and then you go through NEPA and you go through the same exact thing. Let's go through streamline it and do it one time. And it was a big victory to get that passed through legislation and signed into law. But until the rule is actually issued, we're still going to end up fighting this on a local level.
Yeah, and California is a great place for to test this because CEQA is so stringent as it is that I think it makes sense to do it. Another efficiency we're looking at is the regional transportation plans. We have to update them every 4 years, which essentially means 2 years out we start working on the next plan. So we're constantly working on a plan. We never have a plan that we put forward that we can implement. We spend so much time trying to change the document to the changing rules. And between that and the CEPA-NEQA reciprocity, we figure that it's up over $1 million just for Stanislaus County. And that is money that we could match for bridges, for sidewalks, safe routes to schools. And there are lots of projects that we could use that money on that really is just waste as far as I can see.
Well, since you bring up bridges, one of the things I talk about back in Washington, D.C. all the time is the 7th Street Bridge. I was hoping you could give us an update on where we're at on that today.
I could. We're in design right now. It's a joint venture a joint project between Stanislaus County and the city of Modesto. We're asking, the bridge is rated at a 2. It's literally the worst bridge in the state of California. They won't let school buses drive across it. It is so dangerous. And I think there's about 15,000 cars that still utilize that. So it's an important bridge. We're going to have to build a new one, but we're in the design phase. Again, looking for money in a bridge program. We have on system, and that's very complicated. It'd be hard for me to explain the on system versus off system. But California and New York have different rules as to who takes care of it. The state doesn't care for on system, so we've got a lot of pressure on our bridges. We had 3 bridges that were ready, or 4 bridges this year that were ready. One of them got funded, so we've actually put off 3 that are 100% design and ready to be built. So we're again asking for money there. We're also looking at some roadways. We have 2 east-west corridors. One of them we've been talking about for 60 years, longer than I've been alive. It's the 132 expressway between I-5 and 99. The other is the North County Corridor, which is a bypass. It's a quicker way to get up to Tuolumne County. Both important trade corridors for us. Connecting those 2 major thoroughfares in the state of California is really important for us. And 132 is ready to go.
Yeah, I drive that all the time. It's a lot of accidents on that road. And we've got to obviously not only make it safer, but more efficient to get cars through there. But I just want to touch one more time on the 7th Street Bridge. You know, when we're talking about bridges across the country, they rate them 1 to 100. 100 would be the safest, most well-constructed bridge, no problems whatsoever, earthquake retrofit. I mean, they could survive any big disaster. 2, obviously, is at the lowest end of it. We're waiting for a bridge to collapse. You know, we stopped letting school buses go on that 20 years ago.
It's been not 20. Time goes by fast. Probably something similar. But there's a great picture from the side that they have a triangle beam that helps hold up a section of the crumbling structure. So we need to get on it, and we're on 100-year. We want to be on a 100-year cycle to replace bridges. I think the money that's available is about a 200-year cycle. And as exciting, as that sounds, between our local sales tax measure, we're finally self-help, Measure L in Stanislaus County, and SB1 that just passed at the state, there's going to be an influx of transportation money. But having said all of that, we still require federal help, as we always have, especially on the bridge program. So again, we continue to come back here and lobby. Folks like yourself, you're on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, which is important for rail. And
ACE train.
ACE train. We're back here for both components, both for San Joaquin Amtrak and for the Altamont Commuter Expressway, which, as you know, Senator Anthony Cannella just got $400 million to extend ACE down into Stanislaus and potentially into Merced County. If I walk around and say good news between that and SB1, there's another pot of about $500 million a year. We think we're well positioned with both of those structures. The most exciting part is that we've reconfigured one of the train sets, and we're going to run a morning express on the Amtrak system from Fresno to Sacramento that will get in at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you can imagine when you were a state senator, how nice that would have been to jump on at 6 o'clock in the morning and be dropped off right in downtown. But that should be started, that new service should be started by the 1st of 2017. So.
And on ACE, now that we've got the state and local match, it is time to make sure that we've got federal money available through one of our different programs. We're working with ACE to submit a proposal on those. Yeah. But ultimately, we need to get, this is proven ridership. This is people from our community that work somewhere else that can take rail, get there, get home quicker, be part of the community, go to supervisor meetings or PTA meetings, but just being involved back in the community by getting home quicker and having a safe, fast ride to get there.
Yeah. We run buses. There's the ride share out of the mall, a Vintage Fair Mall, and the buses are full every day going to ACE, going to ACE and to BART station. So the connectivity, if you take ACE, you can not quite cross platform, but pretty close to it. Onto BART is really what we're trying to take cars off the Altamont. We're trying to reduce greenhouse gases, and that all takes some time and effort on our part. But I think we've got a good start again with Measure L, Merced being self-help, San Joaquin being self-help. There's a plurality there for us. So,
and making sure that the ridership does not the ridership number is so high that there's no ongoing subsidy because it pays for itself. You buy a ticket, you commute every day, it pays for itself, and we've got to make sure that these areas where you've got ACE, expansion of Amtrak, where you've got more and more ridership increasing, we've got to be looking at getting people off the road. And I've done a number of town halls on ACE. It is pretty nice to see how much people enjoy the ride. They can work on the way to work on the train on the way to work, or for some, it's just a social event or a way to relax. So It is a great train.
Exciting times in transportation for sure.
Yeah. All right, one last topic. I know that you guys are here meeting with Department of Transportation and a lot of infrastructure folks, which I think is critical. It helps me to get my job done when we can work together and work with different agencies to streamline and as well as come up with funding on these different projects. But a personal issue for both you and I, we're both farmers. We've got to have water. It is frustrating to me, and we've talked about this a lot over the years, that we've gone through a 5-year drought, and now we're seeing the possibility of floods, and we still don't have Shasta expanded or sites built or Temperance Flat built. There's projects that the past generations had talked about and written up that we still don't have done yet. That's got to be part of this current infrastructure package. And I wanted to see if you had some quick thoughts on water.
Well, what I think is interesting, the COG, the Council of Governments that we have, then the 8 Valley counties make up the Regional Policy Council. Water is so important that we added it to our LEDGE platform as a transportation agency. Think about that. And I can tell you, Don Pedro was 4 inches from going over the top this year, which is I'm on the Tuolumne River watershed. And you think, we talk about unimpaired flows. This year there's 100% unimpaired flows. And that didn't do anyone any good, did it? All we did is flood people out. We've created levee problems, other secondary problems. So, getting on sites, Temperance Flat, those two, raising Shasta, we could take our own reservoirs, McClure and Don Pedro, and you could raise the spillways. It's the potential is there. It just takes the will, and it takes some money. And I've got the will. I'm prepared. I know you've got the will. You've had it for many years, but we need to get moving on that.
Yeah. And no new pot of funding. These are user pays. We're both water users. We pay for the water. We would borrow it from a infrastructure bank from the federal government, and then we pay it back. So, some people talk about user pays as being toll roads. User pays is a way of life for us who buy our water for our homes and our farms. And
very good point.
We've got to get this built, and we've got to do it before we have huge floods and levees break and we're creating an emergency situation in our community. This is for flood control just as much as it is for the lifeblood of our community.
The last thing is that people talk about the environment. The environment's suffering. People are suffering, the municipal and industrial use, and farmers have less reliability in water. So no one has won since we've been fighting. And it's time for us to join together and understand that California and 40 million people, we have a system that was built for 20 million people, and we're not going to conserve our way out. We're going to have to work together.
Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.